What is truly out there? It's an interesting question, and it's a question we've been asking ourselves for time immemorial. There's cave paintings that go back 30,000 years that have an extraterrestrial nature to them. However, in the past little while, more and more evidence has come to light that there is something here. There is craft flying around our globe at will that we've been observing for a long time. Where do they come from? Are they extraterrestrial? Are they ultra-terrestrial? Are they organic? Are they interdimensional? Are they something in other countries cooked up under our noses? The reality is we don't really know. However, what's also happening is these sightings seem to be coming to light a bit more. However, that's a yes or no question as well. Angus joins us again to unpack this topic. It was a fast-paced, high-level, detailed discussion from many different angles. And I don't think we solved anything. However, as long as you all got more perspectives on your mirror ball, that's all we're really here to do. I'm going to leave it there. Have to thank Rowdy for his original music that keeps us out of that filter that shuts us down. Not sure what songs I'll use. I'll have a look at some of the back catalogue he's given me and use a couple of different ones this time, I think. Remember, Unlocking the Code on Instagram, page on Facebook, Unlocking the Code. Give us a follow, give us a like. Ratings and reviews send us up the charts. Some really exciting interviews coming up. Jock's coming back, and I've got a few other guests in the pipeline. I really appreciate all your time. Let people know. Share the podcast. Thanks very much. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Be kind. Be cool. Stay focused. And we'll talk soon. Cheers.
Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. I think I might just bathe in the sun. And I hope my world don't crash in over me, just like it did yesterday. I'm pretty sure the last mirror that I cracked was more than 7 years ago. And I don't want to wear those bullet holes no more. I want to kill my nightmare. And I've done nothing wrong to anyone. But I just want to be better, better than who I am, better than who I am, better than who I am, better than who I am. Moonlit river flows by gently, like a potion made from the earth. It is healing all of my inner bleeding, even though it's only pictures in my mind. And I hope my world don't crash in over me, just like it did yesterday. I'm pretty sure the last mirror that I cracked was more than 7 years ago. And I don't want to wear these bullet holes no more. I want to kill my nightmare. Don't stick those pins in the dark that looks like me. I'm burning up, 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 I'm burning up. I'm burning up. I'm burning. Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in the sun.
Mate.
Yeah, mate. We're back.
Not often. I was trying to think when the last time you did a back-to-back it was.
It's been a while.
See, the thing is, this was brought forward for a couple of different reasons, but one of them was Christopher Mellon, 1645 JRE.
Yes.
Because we'd been having conversations about what we're going to discuss tonight, and what we remembered, because we've both taken this seriously, we've got notes and everything, man.
Yeah, man. We fucking wrote stuff down.
Yeah, we wrote stuff down.
That's how excited we got.
There's arrows and dot points and underlines and stuff.
Thought bubbles and mind expressions. And all sorts of stuff. We're trying. Let's put it that way. We're trying. For this one.
There's been some effort put in. And look, I suppose the word ultra terrestrial has caught our attention.
Definitely.
And only because it leads into some of the other research that we've been doing. You know, it's already lent that way a little bit with the tunnels, and there's some stuff we're going to talk about later.
There's some ancient things that kick into this as well. It ties together a little bit. Yeah.
But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you a question. Do we believe Bob Lazar? And I asked, for the audience, I did give him a minute to think about this. I prepped you earlier.
Yes. I've been prepped. Look, the way I see it, mate, we've got three options. It's either all truth, it's 50-50, or it's horse shit. That's the three options we've got, you know. And after the Christopher Mellon episode,
yes,
the possibility of it being
true.
Well, yeah, depends on the way you want to.
More accurate.
No, it depends on the way you want to phrase the statement.
The statement, yeah.
But the possibility of it leaning towards 50-50, I don't know if I'm biased. I probably am.
Yeah.
I don't want to call complete horse shit.
No.
I think there's a possibility of... And I guess, you know, it comes back to if 1% of everything's true.
Exactly. It's the 1% rule.
So you can't disregard some of the things that
You
Chris
can't.
Mellon said about, like, the lady who apparently worked with him and he was a badge checker, possibly went to bars. It's like, all right, if I've got to give that its moment in the light and think about the possibility of that being true, we've all met a storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
We've all met that bloke that can take one speck of truth
and just turn it into the wildest yarn.
I believe we may fall into that category. You know what I mean?
We
can run with an idea.
Run with an idea, exactly.
Yeah. But we all know those guys that kind of can't help themselves. They have to do it all the time.
But he's obviously, you know, is he just a mad genius and just attached a rocket to his car because he wanted to, or like, it's an interesting question.
Look, he could be a mad genius that's still good with propulsion, but he may not have made wise life decisions to get him into where he says he was, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, some of it could be made up in terms of what was there, but just like you and I, it's very easy to put together a good theory given enough dots. So through the collection of information, both from being, even if he was a badge checker, he was there overhearing conversations, like exactly the same way as which the Egyptian guy that you've just had on recently, Muhammad, the same way in which he was stating that probably the tour guides are probably the most knowledgeable people around.
That's true.
Because they hear all the conversations and all the theories
different stories
from different
people.
Yeah. So if you allow that into your reality for a moment, those few points of information we've just put down, you've got to think there's a possibility of not all of what he said is true. And, you know, he maybe, those parts that might be untrue or fabricated, he's told so many times he believes his own lie.
Well, there's an interesting line of thought there that's like, when you remember a story, you're not remembering the story, you're remembering the last time you told the story.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Right? Because we've all got stories from our childhoods. We've told a fair few of them on here, you know, over the years. And where every time we tell that story, we're remembering the last time we told the story.
Yeah.
How many details, you know. But he's never changed his story. That's the thing about Bob. He's never changed his story. He's never made any money out of it. Bob believes Bob.
Yes, 100%. Bob believes Bob. That's right.
Yeah.
And he obviously prior to the telling of the original story, he obviously made a decision. This was if you're going down the 50-50 route.
Yeah.
He made a decision of what the story was and stuck to it. Told himself enough that that's what the story was, and then just repeated it.
But I mean,
never expanded upon it.
With Jordan Knapp saying that they actually went out and watched the UFOs in the sky and all that sort of stuff back in the late 80s and stuff. Like, there's undeniable things.
Definitely. Oh, dude, there's extraordinary parts to that story.
And why does he keep getting raided?
What
are they looking for?
Yeah.
They're looking for 115. I'm pretty sure that's what they're looking for.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're looking for. Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Yeah. So, that adds, the raids swing you back towards the full truth belief.
Yeah.
But look, I don't know if at the end of the day it comes down to locking yourself into an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to pose the question.
Yeah.
I thought it's not something we've even talked about off the mics.
Yeah.
We just we talked about the documentary and the things, and we went along with Bob, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To a point, Yeah. And I just thought it was an interesting thing. And I suppose Bob is an interesting example because realistically, we're hearing the same story from 1988 or 89 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
We just heard it again on Netflix last year.
Yeah.
The reality of the information that is, a lot of the information that's coming out, it's come out before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which leads me to what I had written down here is it all disinformation?
Yeah.
What percentage of it is disinformation?
Yeah. That's a very good question. And I don't know if I can possibly lock it down myself.
No,
as to a percentage. It's a good rhetorical question, and it's a good thought experiment to send yourself down that loop of thinking about, the things that could be put out, and actually to hark back to the Christopher Mellon, the interview that they kind of discussed Blue Book, right, and the effectiveness of Blue Book.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't think they set it in stone, but for me, thinking about it, like trying to give myself a basis of belief for the theory, from what they were discussing, I got the feeling like Blue Book was a little too successful.
Yeah.
In terms of discouraging people from reporting these incidents. Because throughout there was a section when Joe asks, like, where is this getting squashed?
Yeah.
Where in the line does it get squashed? And Chris kind of replied, it's not any one place.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
The people on the ground, the pilots and stuff that are experiencing it, they're too scared because they'll be discredited.
Exactly.
If someone does pass it on, the same happens for the whole position all the way up to, is it Mattis?
Yeah.
So they were discussing the fact that there's somewhere between 14 to 17 routes that a memo has to go through to get signed off on, that it gets through to him at the end.
Yeah.
And even when they briefed them with the idea of showing him this info, they didn't want to do it in case he got contaminated with that whole tinfoil hat thing that Blue Book really set in place with just, I remember way back when I was a little kid seeing news reports about like swamp gas UFO sightings.
Yes.
And how ridiculous did that sound from the get-go?
Yeah.
Yeah. To circle all the way back around to, is this the Great Deception? I don't think so, because I think there's always some hijackers, but I think the vast majority of the information that's currently coming out is honest.
Yeah. Because
I feel like, and we've spoken about it before, but I feel like this is in all levels of society. It goes further than what we ever believed.
Yes.
About people waking up and realizing that there has been dishonesty in every level of every institution.
Exactly.
So you need
Since
to
forever.
question. So you need to question it. So that idea is happening with us, but it's also happening at those levels in Congress.
Yeah.
And there's more people that are asking for this information, and there's different levels in the army and the military and stuff like that are like, no, I want to know because I'll make my own mind up. Whereas before, institutions were believed before. So it's the invention of the internet, the discrediting of the institutions, which creates the question. And what I think we haven't realised up to this point is how high up that mindset has actually gone in society.
Yeah.
It's at those upper tiers of government that they're even questioning what the fuck's real.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, look, and that's actually you put it very well, and I think we've always wanted the question's always been there, and you talk about the ancient stuff. There's cave paintings of what look like UFOs and grey beings and stuff like that. That's 30,000 years old.
That's right, and it follows all the way through all of those new post-flood civilizations.
Yeah.
That, the rebuilding, so the very primitive stuff,
Yeah.
the rebuilding up into civilization and the like. You see it all the way through, even into written history. You have accounts written back through thousands of years. And it just gets, as time goes on and we gain a better understanding, it's funny how the descriptions of things change because the descriptions are very prevalent for their time. And then as technology and our understanding of how things work improves, we describe these things better and better.
Yeah. But it's still only to the level of our technology.
Exactly. We only ever describe it to what we can understand.
But it does repeat itself and repeat itself and repeat itself. I did want to, Jacques Vallée.
Yes.
Yeah. His recent book has been cancelled by Amazon for some reason. And that's apparently where his findings for his metals and stuff were in.
Yes, because he's in possession of X amount
of metals, yeah.
of metals. It's very interesting. Just speaking of Jacques Vallée and the French, that would be something that I've never delved into.
Yeah.
I sit here and I look at a very broad range of ufology.
French UFO sightings is not necessarily something you've looked at.
It's not something I've looked at. You get the big topics from around the world. Like I've heard of Russian stories, African stories, and stuff like that, but never anything specifically French. But here we are with the French government. Actually, is probably one of the only countries in the world that have acknowledged it and can have a section for it.
Yeah,
sort of thing, a research thing. It's small, but
they've dedicated something to it.
It's there nonetheless. Whereas everywhere else have like a civilian group that they'll pay attention to, like the MUFONs and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not a government department.
Well, see, if the French have got it, the Russians have got it. So this is the thing, all right? So we know about French. We now know about French. We're Russian, Mexican,
British.
African, British, Australia. There's been sightings down here.
Dude, 1966, the whole story, they didn't expand upon it in the JRE episode. They mentioned it. I believe Chris mentioned like just the Australian incident or whatever. That's all it was. But let's not forget. So it was 1966.
Got the notes out.
Let's quick look at the notes. 6th of the 4th, 1966.
6th of the 4th, 1966.
It was in Melbourne.
Melbourne, yep.
So there was 300 teachers and kids that all experienced this. Funnily enough, in reading a couple of articles, apparently the story goes the principal did not see it because he refused to come out of his office because, I guess he figured it's just easier if you don't know. It's just easier to deny.
Yeah, I'm just not,
you know
I'm just not going out there.
I'm not even going out there. I didn't see it. I cannot comment. Whatever he was thinking. But apparently, there's a recording of a teacher, and from reading the articles, I couldn't work out if it was made at the time, so after the event, and he's recorded himself, or if it was
he had some sort of recording Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? What was the incident? Let the listeners know.
So this is where it gets funky. Is there's a few different reports of what happened in terms of sometimes there's one UFO, there's 3 UFOs, and then there's 2 differences in what they did. Some say they landed, and the teacher, I don't know if there's any other people with him, but the teacher definitely says the UFO dog fought with 5 planes.
Right.
And he doesn't mention what the planes were, whose they were they Air Force planes, what? But it's the planes were like circling around trying to sort of line up on this thing.
Yeah, right.
And it would move and move and stop, move and stop sort of thing. And it was just like...
I'm pretty just off the top, mate. I think we were probably flying F-86 Sabres.
You've got the knowledge there, man.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
have
sure.
no idea. Pre F111, I have no idea what we had. It's like 2 jets ago. I'm like, Australia had jets? I thought we'd be in Sopworth Camels. Yeah. Biplanes and shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, they dog fought. Yeah.
Apparently. So that's the 2 separate... That's where it gets a little bit fuzzy. Is it's like, oh, there's 2 different accounts. There's different accounts of how many there were. Yeah. Was there any disinformation? Now it gets into the woo and later on in the story, apparently there's sharp dressed men in black, blah blah.
Okay,
but whether the story as it's presented is just bits of information all collated together. So maybe only one person with a fantastical mind mentioned there was men in black, but they threw it in there anyway. I don't know. But anyway, that's the theory of Australia. That's one of our big sightings.
I haven't asked you. Well, we probably have, but I forget. You haven't seen UFO, have you?
Look, I'm going to say to this date, no.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything that my brain couldn't automatically assign something to, which makes it hard for it to be unidentified. Yeah. So I've only seen some pretty fantastic, like shooting stars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't seen things buzzing around in circles and changing direction and stuff. So no, I'm a bit disappointed in that actually. But
I've got the one.
You've got one?
One.
Yeah, yeah.
There's 13.
Yep.
In Ballarat, right?
Yep.
My driveway, there was a bushland, but you could see a big mob of stars, right? And we used to line the driveway at night and look at the stars.
Yep.
Me and James and Trisha.
Yep.
We're lying there one night, and this thing pops up, and it goes ding, like it drops down and turns right and does these weird, was just bouncing,
sporadic
bouncing
movements
around the sky.
Yep. Yep.
And my dad had this little telescope that I used to use, and I ran inside. I thought, shit, I need to try and see this. I ran inside to get the telescope, and when I came out, and as I was lifting it to look at it, it gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a solid sighting, man.
That's the only, and like
nature doesn't do right angles.
No, man. No, that's yeah.
So yeah, that's funky. I would love to see something like that. I've even driven the Western roads. Now, I guess this thing kind of harks into the parts of the ultra terrestrial, into the mythical realm of it.
Yeah.
You know, the stories that are passed down. So I've even driven the Western roads looking for Min.
Yeah.
You know, Min lights.
Yeah.
Just hoping. You
just
know, just
show
like
me something.
I'm driving purely at night.
Yeah.
There's been a few trips where I've driven like 24 hours in one stint.
Yeah.
The majority of that it's at night because it's cooler. It's better on the car for that kind of distance. And I've just hoped and prayed along those western highways that just go dead straight and flat for hundreds of kilometres. Just cruising them, looking out, and it's just flat either side.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw that flatness, actually. I was actually on a train. The first time I went out west, I was on a train. And I remember waking up in the morning as a little kid. I was probably 8 or 9. And just seeing the landscape. And just sitting there and staring out the window for maybe a solid half hour just upon wake up. And just going, wow. That was probably the first time in my life I ever got the chance to have my perspective changed.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I'd grown up on the eastern side of the Great Dividing Range, 30 minutes to the coast.
Yeah.
That was my bubble of my world. That's what Australia looked like. You know what I mean? In a 9-year-old's mind, this is Australia.
No, Australia goes, yeah.
And then I woke up, see, the whole trip to Townsville on the train, it's all very similar. You know, there is some slight changes to the landscape, but it's fairly similar to what I was experiencing in southeast Queensland. But then I woke up the next morning when we'd crossed the range and we were out the back. And, yeah, just red dirt, spin effects, and flat. You could see all the way to whatever the creek line there was where some trees stood up a bit higher. That always lines the horizon. It's weird how you've always got trees on the horizon in the outback. But yeah, that was the first time in my life.
You may never find those trees, but they're there.
They're there. They're off in the distance. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I've seen weird light, only once.
Yep.
Coming back from, I'm pretty sure I've told this story, however, driving back from Dolby, coming from the QGC project. And because our boss said we could drive home, but he didn't say if we left after midnight, that's Sunday. So me and my offside would get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and we'd be home by sunrise. You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're going to leave Sunday.
Yeah.
Didn't say what time for that.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm leaving at 12:01.
That's right. Yeah.
Then I can enjoy my day the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So we did that for a little while. And we were coming back. So yeah, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was driving, and because again, we worked out there. You roughly know where the rigs are. You roughly know where stuff is when you're out there, right? Because that's your world.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we're driving back, there's no big oil rigs. We know there's no big rigs in the area. We know there's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And this light, pretty bright, right? Probably like a motorbike high beam sort of type of light. Probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 Ks off to the left. Just turned on.
Yep.
And it didn't move. Like it was always the same distance away from us.
Yeah.
And after about 10 minutes, and seriously 10 minutes, I looked at me outside and went, we're both seeing that, hey?
Yeah.
Because it is early in the morning. We've been in a 3-week shift. Like, things happen.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And he's like, yeah, man, it's kind of freaking me out. And I'm like, yeah. He's, what is it? I said, I don't know.
Did it give you the feeling of like being focused on you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was looking at us.
Like it was shining. It
At
wasn't
the car.
just a bright light shining
No.
out.
It was looking at us.
It was like a set of spotties
Yeah.
pinned on you.
Yeah.
And they always just seem to remain pinned on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was honestly for nearly 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it just...
You know what's weird?
As quick as it went, as quick as it came, as quick as it went. And we just both sat and went, that is one of the weirdest things that's ever happened. Like,
Yeah. You know what's weird is I don't know if that's... I have no memory of seeing it, but I just have a feeling like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The thing is, you probably
maybe
saw
that
it
has
as a
happened.
kid. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that has happened, but I don't know. I can't remember an event.
Yeah.
But I feel like you telling that story, I was like...
I've seen that before.
Yeah, I know that feeling. That's why I was like, did it feel focused on you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a real weird feeling to
Yeah,
remember the feeling but not remember the
account.
event. I'm like, I don't know, but I think I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And that was a weird encounter. And look, one of the things I thought about in preparation for this was how many accounts are exactly what we just did then. You ever seen something, mate? Yeah, I've seen something. Oh, yeah. Oh, something similar's happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's just a...
Well, and see, this is what excites me about the feeling I get around the UFO community at this point in time. The UFO community has been injected with a lot of credibility in the recent years, since probably 2017.
Yeah, Fravor came out.
All of them. There's a lot of the stuff that's come out recently gives you a lot of that feeling of credibility. Like people in the correct positions are sort of talking about it. The other one that gets me is Corey Good. Are you aware of Corey Good?
I saw some of his stuff tonight, actually. That's interesting you said that.
He's I don't know. He tells a really good story. But he's on that edge of ufology where he's really reaching out there into like colonies on the moon, been doing, like we've been doing this since the 50s.
It's actually odd how fast it goes there. The colonies on the moon, and we've got bases on Mars and stuff.
Yeah. And well, the bases on Mars, they had like, this is all in his sort of stories. They had stargates to kind of teleport.
That's actually
between
part
here
of
and
what I
there.
was looking at tonight. Yeah.
So there was some spaceship flying. There was some teleportation. There was time regression sort of thing. So this is what gets me with him. Is it's like, fuck, you are way out in that uncanny valley, man.
Yeah.
You're like,
You need to calm down.
I've got to try and cross this valley of disbelief, and I'm like, oh, it's a little too a bridge too far. Whereas the other people who are coming out also, you know, the Fravers, for example, the Stephen Greers, the Jeremy Corbell compiling the stories.
He's a facilitator.
He's a facilitator,
Yeah.
but the material he's creating, it's within the realms of possibility, and it's also throwing up this thing. It's lifting the veil of the fact that this whole time we thought the government knew, maybe the government didn't know. And it kind of, in my mind, what happened recently was I kind of, the idea of the government knowing, I kind of sidestepped it a little bit, and I've recompartmentalized it into...
Well, the thing is that a modern democratic government is a rolling entity, right? However, my parents were in the public service for, I think, 35 years combined.
Yep.
How many different prime ministers and government bodies and stuff did they see? But their employment didn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
They were servants of the state, right?
That's right.
So if you're a servant of the state in a black ops level in any country, in anything,
yeah,
right? There's a career job there, like,
and there's tenure.
Yeah.
You're there for long periods of time to collect the data. You know, in the exact same way as what Chris Mellon was. You know, he was a stayer. So there's that section of government, and I think we kind of forget about this. There's this section of government that is rolling, and they get the most important figurehead jobs.
Yeah, up to date. What's going on in this minute?
The Prime Minister and his cabinet sort of thing.
I did like how he said as well, it's like, how could you be briefed on all the projects? You're only there for 4 years. You're going to spend the first 12 months just reading documents.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to have any and then where to the rabbit hole? Like, you read one document, you go, hang on a minute, what's the, you know?
Yeah, and we talk about the exciting stuff, but how much black ops stuff is, like he said, not exciting.
Yeah.
So you get bored to death on the majority of the info.
Yeah.
And then the pockets of juicy shit are just laden around the outside.
That's right.
You know, there's a long distance between each pocket. So I've recompartmentalized into, it's not the government as we think of it.
No, it's not.
But there could definitely be sections
of the government complex.
Or the military-industrial complex that do have this information, but maybe they never shared it. You know, it gets locked up in those vaults and gets
held
onto.
it's like how you said it. You know, it goes through 19 hands. It made me think of the Ford vs Ferrari movie. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but that character, that's a really good movie if you haven't seen it.
I think I might have.
Yeah. However, he's like, you know, how come we didn't win Le Mans? And the Matt Damon character, Shelby.
Matt Damon. Yeah.
He goes, while I was sitting here waiting for you to see me, that red folder went through 25 pairs of hands before it got to you.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about. How many different government employees, it's their job to process that paperwork. Different signatures and, you know, red tape and black tape and redacted and whatever else, you know, like, where are these files actually unblacked out?
Yeah,
somewhere.
Exactly.
Like, you know, like...
And I think the government itself, you know, in part of this waking up process, have realised maybe we do know nothing. You know, this whole time they've been discrediting it because they were part of the distraction. There's a distraction this whole time. They believed it all the way to the top, so no one wanted to talk about it. Interestingly,
one of the notes I did have here is apparently Mr. Loeb, old Harvey, who the Oumuamua.
Yep.
He was harassed at a conference and that sort of stuff.
Getting like attacked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is disappointing.
It is. Definitely.
Look, I don't, again, we don't, I think Avi believes Avi, and that's the important thing. However, it's a very interesting concept.
Well, this is another part of the conversation that I wanted to go down, and it kind of circles back around onto RV eventually. But it's and it ties into multiple areas. I can't explain them all at once, but we'll just see where it goes.
It's just rock and roll, man.
But let's just think about for a second what Joe said about it when he said, "But couldn't it have been a different level of tech?" Chris was right when he mentioned. You've got Oumuamua flying through the solar system for a couple of days, and then you've got a probe on Earth that can do amazing stuff that we can't explain.
Exactly.
Which one do you want to pay more attention to?
Yeah.
And I felt like that was
It's valid.
It's a valid comment. Yeah, you're right. That could quite possibly be anything else. But at the same time, why do we need to attack Arvi? It could quite possibly be exactly what Joe was mentioning in terms of there's levels to this. Just the galaxy could possibly be riddled with life. And
again, you go 1%. What is it? 200 billion planets now, or 200? I think it's something like that. It's over 200 million, I'm sure. Got planets in the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
So if 1% is true, let's go back to that.
Yep.
That means there's 2 million planets in our galaxy.
Yeah.
In our neighborhood
with Goldilocks planets
that have got some sort of life on them.
Yeah.
And
what gives us the hubris to believe that we're winning that race? What if we're coming last? And this leads me into what I was talking about before.
I think we probably,
What if our galaxy is Star Wars? But no. Hear me out, brother.
I'm with you.
I'm going there.
I'm with.
But instead of us playing the leading role, we're actually the Ewoks on Endor, baby. Okay, so just put that in your mind for a second.
Yeah.
We've all seen the Ewoks. They're cute, cuddly little dudes. Can be quite violent when they want to be. They're very primitive in the way that they do things, but they revere outsiders as gods. You remember C-3PO on the throne sort of thing? So they revered these people.
Well, that's the space daddy concept, isn't it?
Boom. Thank you for picking up on that, Triff. That's the space daddy. I'm actually like, you know what? This just popped into my mind earlier tonight. And I was like, what if Lucas had it all along and he's put this secret little admission into the Ewok line?
Yeah.
Like, if you break it down, they are us. They are us. That's our level of understanding of the world, of the universe.
Of the universe, yeah.
Exactly. We're primitive, violent little buggers, cute and cuddly. I have no doubt that there are some civilizations that like to just look at us because they think we're cute. They think it's nice to look back on the past and think a million years ago, that's what you were like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There'd be some dad standing there being like, yeah, son.
Well, there is that theory, isn't it, that we're a tourist park or something like that.
Exactly. We're a zoo sort of thing. But then take a minute to put yourself in the brain of an Ewok.
Right.
To put human civilization at the level of the Ewoks. And now you look out across a Star Wars galaxy and look at all the different races that are spacefaring. You know what I'm saying? There's quite a few different races. And then add on top of that the Force and all of the Force-wielding, Force-sensitive beings. So they pop out of all different levels of society, and then they populate like another hierarchy of power.
The thing about the Force is that my dad is a Star Wars. It's tragic, right? So I've seen him 14 billion times. When I say that, I've seen him so many times. However, the George Lucas story, if we bring it back, and the way he wound the positive and negative aspects of the Force within the universe, right?
Yep.
It's you can play it on today's society, like you can actually physically almost see it.
Yeah, man.
And we've been on the dark side for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Right. However,
yeah.
I can
at its rawest. Exactly what you're saying. It's light and dark. You know, the good guys wore white, the bad guys wore black. It's the timeless story of the hero that's rising, that basically goes
Homer's
through.
Odyssey, mate.
It starts with the Sumerians
Yeah.
and comes all the way
Yeah.
through. We retell the same story
Over and
over and over.
over
We
and
just
over again. Yeah.
everything's the same. It's only the names that change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's all the same. So, yeah, and the stories just get convoluted. They
Yeah.
get added to, and they throw romance and all this sort of drama into the story. But the basis of the story is still the same.
But if you think the interesting thing, and I like when this whole Star Wars thing, because I didn't think specifically about Star Wars, but I just thought the space movie alien / genre of movies that have come out and how detailed and stuff they've been getting over the last 10 to 15 to 20 years. So since Star Wars, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, are we being, you know, is there subliminal messaging in some, but again, is it the same story over and over again? Did we just tell the story around a campfire, but now we've got a computer to do the technology to do the same thing, right? So that is continually coming down the lexicon, right? The genetic DNA, the story is always there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How old are these things?
Yeah, that's right.
Because, I mean, I don't know if we're ready to, but ultra or extraterrestrial.
I think both.
Me too.
That's all. That's what. Because I think there's too many possibilities to rule one or the other out.
Yeah.
We're not at that stage.
No.
We're not at that stage
No,
of
we
refining.
must remain open.
We need to suck in
Input
like a
data.
sponge
Input
as
data.
much information as we can.
Yeah.
It kind of excites me about this point in time with the fact that people are starting to ask questions. Because I feel like investigations are going to happen. Because it's
What
not
do you
only
think? Do
us
you
that
think-
don't know, it's a level of society that wields power that don't know, and they're like,
Hang on a minute. UFOs are real?
I want to know about that.
However, I thought about what, you know, and Joe asked the question, why did they change it from UFO to UAP?
And how could I argue with the response that Chris gave?
You can't.
You can't. You know, the UFO thing, even to this very minute,
loaded.
it still brings a cringe. If
Well, it's a never-ending, desperate, crazy hole on YouTube if you want to take it.
exactly, and that's what brings down the name the UFO. So I agree with him about with this injection of these people who hold credibility.
Yeah, we don't like UFO.
We need a
change.
name
Yeah.
that holds credibility. So
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
in the future, you want the credible stuff, the nuts and bolts research on the ground. You look at UAP. You want to fly down a rabbit hole that has all these amazing twists and turns. You search UFO.
Yeah.
That's how I feel it'll go. Yeah, if it hasn't already. Yeah.
I one of the thought processes I had about UAP though,
Yeah.
unidentified aerial phenomena. That sounds like they're naming something that's from here. I don't know why I went down that thought process.
Yeah. Yes and no. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, a phenomenon doesn't necessarily need to be produced by a human. So, yeah, it has some slight overtones. But I don't know, man.
And that's the thing. If you, the problem is that we've both been in the UFO alien rabbit. I've been in it since I was 12 or something. But yeah, like, you know, we don't need to say how that's like 25 plus years for both of us. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're at. So it's hard. You question everything at some point, don't you?
Yeah.
But let's for a second. Okay, so let's leave ultra and extra off the table for the minute. Let's have a look at some of the nuts and bolts stuff. Yeah. So if we are to believe the FLIR tape, like you can't, that especially the one was, Teleo got one, you know what I mean? It's like, look at them all over there. Like there's two, that's been identified as real.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't argue against that, right?
Yep.
However, if that one's real, all the other ones you've heard of over the years that haven't been confirmed as real must now come into play.
Definitely. Everything's back on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of stories, if you actually look at it, of fighter planes either engaging with UAPs.
Foo Fighters.
Yeah, back in World War II. Exactly. Right?
Yeah. So they've...
Well, the Battle of Los Angeles, they were firing at something
they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, you just make a cheesy movie about it, and then everyone forgets it's an actual event. And thinks
that's
it's
what
just
happened.
A movie. It's
like,
no, that didn't really happen.
They thought the Germans were coming,
Yeah.
and they were shooting at something for a good 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
And they still don't know what it is.
Turned out nothing was there.
Nothing was there.
Yeah.
The 52 event over the White House. Interesting that.
Dude, how quickly does that turn into a meme?
Exactly.
You know, like it gets forgotten that it was an actual thing.
That's what happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just 52. We didn't have 20 megapixel cameras in our pockets. You know.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So we can take into account. There's many. Like we talk about joining the dots, right? There's many. If we now that there's some legitimacy around some of these ones, and you can then relook at some of the older stuff. Understanding though that the Fravor video was back in 06, that everyone needs to understand that as well. Like it's
06 or 04. I thought it was 04. Look, it's within a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was a hot minute ago.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you like that.
No.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. It was a hot minute ago, so let's not forget. Yeah, that was a while ago. What else has happened between now and then?
What else has happened between now and then?
I think a lot of what's happened between now and then is more on the East Coast.
Yeah.
The East Coast pyramids and shit seem to be a little bit more up to date than the Tic Tacs on the West Coast. Maybe they just... I find it hard to believe that in the last 15 to 18 years, they haven't done any more manoeuvres out in the Pacific off California.
Well, they're constantly doing that there.
To stir up that kind of investigation again from a Tic Tac.
Well, they're going to be doing it just as workups, you know, like they're going to be doing it as you know, games. Like that's
100%.
It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
So that means, like, I sort of wrote down hundreds, thousands of sightings, engaging fighters, ships, civilian aircraft, like these things.
All the airline reports.
Yeah.
There's been airline reports for years.
Years, forever.
Yeah.
Forever there's been airline reports.
Yeah.
You know, this thing's following me, I don't know what it is.
Balls of light flying around the plane.
Yeah.
Or just, like we mentioned before, the same focused bright light that never seems to get any closer or any further away.
Yeah, happens
just
at
always
45,000 feet or 35,000 feet.
So you'd think if it was coming towards you, there'd be an impact at some point.
I had a quote there before, sort of thinking about this stuff. Is the truth of this too shocking? Like, is there actually fuel to the thought that if we told all the masses tomorrow that there's things that fly around the military bases and all that secret stuff, and realistically there's nothing we can do about it, and they haven't been aggressive. However, if they were,
there's not a lot we could do.
There's not a lot we can do.
Yeah. And that's why we've had this
not even the Raptor. Not even the Raptor.
Yeah, the F-22.
Yeah.
Can match these things. As amazing as a creation that is. Yeah, not even the Raptor can handle it. So our strategy this whole time has been hope to God it doesn't attack and just ignore it. That's what the strategy...
Or do you think it's just there was a good PR program run where, you know, tinfoil hat UFO stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just didn't report it. Or the reports got, you know, as you say, went through 17 bands' hands and disappeared. Maybe there's not as much malice as we'd want to think there is. It could just be bloody human error. You know what I mean? Like, it could just be it's in a filing cabinet out the back of Burke somewhere.
Yeah. And what's the percentage in the community of, like, skeptics? If somewhere in that chain of 15, someone believes that they can explain it away, whether they're an expert in the field or not. Like I said before, with my own experience, I've seen nothing that I couldn't explain in an instant with my knowledge that I'd gathered. What's to say that knowledge was ever true? Who knows? But like I said, nothing was extraordinary. There was no turns or anything. It looked like the things I saw looked like things falling. So what makes you think there wasn't a person in that chain that went, that's bullshit. That's obviously this, and just red flagged it, and it doesn't go through.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all it takes. There was definitely a lot of that because we all understand human nature. And then there was everything else as well. There was subterfuge and I just blanked. There was diversion, disinformation. There was definitely a force working that doesn't want people to know about it, think about it, and wants to discredit it. There was definitely a section of the rest of the community that discredited it without even thinking about it. Just like, nah, that's ridiculous. It would probably be this, and just throwing it away through their own ignorance. And then there's the rest of the people that didn't know, that had the information withheld upon them.
I mean, the thing about Blue Book as well is I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. However, there was still several hundred sightings that were unexplained out of the thousands that were submitted. It was like 99% was swamp gas and weather balloons. However.
Yeah. And then what do you think turned Hynek around when he left and then became a believer?
Yeah.
It's not that he became a believer. It's just
he saw the evidence.
There's so much evidence stacking up that it's like, can't cover this up forever.
Yeah, there's something here.
There's something here. Can you say to believe something when it's stone cold hard evidence? It's like it either is or it isn't. There's no believing or not believing. That's all there is. It's not a made up story about a spaghetti monster in the sky.
Yeah, but I mean, and the FLIR video that's the one where it takes off out of screen. That's not the one where they're talking. That's the one where you see it and it just instant acceleration.
Yeah, they're scrolling through the different modes.
Yeah, and it just goes,
and then it goes boop off the screen.
Yeah, and like the G forces, that they were saying that would create would tear the F-22 to pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And let's just talk about that for a second and why the community, the information that's out there, why the community believe, the things it would have to do for not get ripped apart by G-forces.
Yeah.
So there's two options. The way in which you construct the alloy is just so strong.
Well, it's multi. I mean, if you to believe the metal samples, it's multi-layered.
Yeah. Bismuth and but it's not an alloy as such. It's just layered elements.
Yeah,
and that gives it some certain properties.
What's anti-gravity? That's what we're talking about.
Yes. Well, if it's anti-gravity, then that throws you into the other side, the other argument. So I'll just finish off this one. Yeah. So the argument would be it's mechanically made out of such strong materials that it can withstand those G-forces. It's just engineered to a better spec than our stuff that's been engineered so far. But it's still mechanical. And to get around the whole inertia problem, what if it's controlled by solid state AI? Yeah, so there's no moving parts, so they don't get affected by inertia and such.
No, they're just in the box.
They're in the box, exactly.
If there's anyone in there.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a biological being because we wouldn't be able to survive the stresses.
Yeah.
It's just like it's the drone argument, sort of. But who does the drone belong to?
Exactly.
Does it belong
Where's
to
it coming from?
ETs, UTs, us, other countries, enemies, etc.? Who does a drone belong to? Or, like you were saying, you go down the anti-gravity propulsion system side of things, and now you start talking about bending space-time around the craft, falling into that, hence no sonic boom, because you're bending
the space around
around you. No sonic boom, no noise, no inertia. And I believe that obeys the laws of physics, that because of relativity, the things inside the craft wouldn't be affected if that's the theory we're running with in terms of bending space.
It would create a bubble around the craft.
Exactly. I guess there are options of how these things do the things that they do.
Just had a thought though. We talk about anti-gravity. However, we don't in either of those arguments, we really don't actually talk about propulsion. Is it using the magnetics of the Earth? Like how is it moving around in space?
Well, you know how some of these craft, some people have reported a hum You know, and again, this got brought up in that same episode. You know, that episode's going to feature heavily in this episode of ours. But they report a hum, somewhat like a transformer on a high voltage line. Now, what if that's more the mechanical side of things? What if there's some kind of electronic generator within that craft, and it uses electricity to create electromagnetic fields,
which allow it to move in anywhere,
which make it move. It's propelling against the magnetics of the Earth, and it's pushing against those to propel itself around. Now, that to me, I don't know about you, and tell me if you believe differently, but that to me is like a engineering thing that could be possible for us in the future. You know what I'm saying? It feels like the step before anti-gravity. Anti-gravity feels like a more advanced thing in the way in which it works. And, I mean, you still got to produce large amounts of power to operate these things. So, I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on the matter. Like, where do you go when you think about it like that?
Look, if the thing about if it's using the electromagnetic property, because it doesn't explain the ones that are in space.
No, because if you're getting out too far,
you're not using that's not, you know. If I think about the one that I saw when I was 13, that was up in the stars. You know, It looked like it was a star bouncing around. That's what we thought. You know,
it looked like it, but perspective is also thrown out. You know, stars are massive, but they're really far away. The International Space Station or a satellite looks like a star, but it's moving, sort of thing. So that's how we can pick it out. They're a similar size. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been in the upper reaches of the atmosphere doing those things where it's still able to operate. I don't know.
However, if that is the case, though, that would lend to the ultra-terrestrial argument.
Yeah, it still asks, is it made by us or is it made by someone else? And that harks back to, were there survivors of the
cataclysm? Yeah.
The cataclysm. Were they builders? Were they Aryans? You know, the bearded man. Are they ultra-terrestrials of another hominid line? Or were they hominids? Were they reptilians from an ancient time? You know, who knows?
Well, and it's interesting. Some of the stuff I was watching tonight, there's an echoing story throughout, like the Americas and into Sumeria and stuff like that, about the gods would take them into the tunnel and they'd keep them in the tunnel until the cataclysm was over. Like all these Indian tribes say they emerged from the underground.
Yes.
Right, so...
Do they mean that literally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the story goes, the gods took us underground, looked after us, and then when it was over, they led us back to the surface and they helped us build some stuff. Yeah. Like that is literally the beginning story of multiple tribes across the planet. What if that is literal?
That's a good theory. That's a good line of thought.
You know, and it's sort of like the cave paintings, right? I love it how it's always symbology and shamanism, and it's a ceremony.
What if it's true?
What if they saw it and went, "That's crazy. I need to draw that on the wall."
Yeah. Why do we always need to give it this element of ceremony?
Yeah.
And we do this with everything. And
it's all the megalithic temples.
If we can't explain anything,
exactly,
it must be ceremonial.
Yeah, it's religious context.
That's it. That's what. Yeah, which it's funny because you call it ceremonial, everyone knows it's just bullshit. It's
that's right.
It's like, it's religious. Oh, you mean that like made up stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Like, yeah, that stuff. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, sweet. Yeah. We just run with that. We don't know what is.
Yeah. But that is what, and we've talked about it here as well. Like, it's interesting throughout the megalithic stuff as well. Tunnels, underground cities, all of these things echo again throughout all of these stories. Doesn't matter which way you look at it.
Yeah.
With these sightings, a lot of them are over the ocean. Mm-hmm. We know fuck all about the ocean.
Yeah.
Apart from it's blue and it's deep and it's got fish in it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
it. Because the only people that are out there are transporting goods or they're raping the ocean.
Yeah.
They don't really care about, understanding and what's under there and mapping and looking. And the fact of the matter is, water's just harder to see through than air.
Yes.
So it's easier to just kind of look out and wonder than it is to actually hold your breath, the pressure, the lack of oxygen, all of the above, to explore the depths. But yeah, there's so much possibility for things to be down there.
But anti-gravity tech would be very handy in the ocean. Because one of the trippier, when I hold Tic Tac, I don't know, you might have seen it. Have you seen the Tic Tac flying to the cliff?
No.
There's drone footage.
Yeah.
And a little while ago I saw it.
Yeah.
And basically this guy's flying a drone over a canyon in the US.
Yeah.
And this Tic Tac comes out of screen.
Yep.
Looks like the Tic Tac, exactly how it's been described.
Yep.
And what looks like in the FLIR videos and stuff.
Yep.
And then just into the cliff face. Just disappears.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, listen, I was seriously just flying my drone. This is not,
Yeah.
No.
I don't want to get that.
No.
I don't want to see that. It'd be like the guys on Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
When the two dudes are sitting up on the cliff and they see the yellow light and one guy goes, "That's not a yellow light. That's a tunnel." And there's something crawling out of it.
Yeah.
And then this large black figure, army crawls out of the tunnel, stands up, and he's like, "And now it's walking around here somewhere." Because it just walks out of the tunnel and into the darkness. And it's like, and now it's here. And you can't eliminate from, if you want to go ultra terrestrials and USOs, you can't eliminate those styles of reports. The mythological creatures, we go back to the Min, not so much a creature, but more of a light. What's to say the Min, although it looks far away, isn't quite close, and it's not one of those orbing lights that have been seen around the Uinta Basin. Those small baseball type lights that can kill dogs or anything like that. What's to say it's not something along those lines? And then the other mythical reports throughout time, Yetis, abominable snowmen, Sasquatch, Yowies, they echo throughout time. Now, are they, as some evidence suggests, possible ancient hominids that may have died out, and it's a genetic
memory,
genetic memory down the line? Is it possible? Because we lived with them once upon a time.
Well, I mean, one of the avenues we've explored, mate, is that the number of hominids and the different Neanderthal hybrids and crosses, and we have no idea.
Yeah, all we have any evidence of is what we've found, and who's to say anything, who's to say a quarter of the thing's fossilized? When we're running off Gigantopithecus with a molar and a bit of jawbone, I believe. And other, Denisovans off a pinky bone and maybe some jewelry.
I think more Denisovan stuff was found not that long ago.
Yep. But I bet it's still not a full skeleton.
No.
Yeah. So we don't know what things looked like. We go off. There's highly educated people that can make these assumptions based off the way and the form in which things grow. You can measure a pinky bone and get the average size of the overall thing if it fits a certain structure.
Yeah.
So you've got that ability, but then you've still got to find these tiny little bits of bone and stuff and identify them. There is that element for the human element of making mistakes. It could possibly be something when you believe it's something else. Look at the variation just in modern humans. The tallest to the smallest.
Yeah, that's right.
We would seem like multiple different things.
Well, it's like, you talk about, I stood next to a cardboard cutout of Shaq.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
If you were looking from the outside in, you wouldn't say that we were the same species.
No, exactly. And take that to the extremes,
Yeah.
Get a little person and then Shaq-like or even bigger human that exists. And then you start to look at the variation and you're like, wow, that if you were to scatter those bones across the earth, that's multiple hominids.
Absolutely.
You're not thinking that they're all the same thing, especially when you've got no skulls or anything to understand what they look like. You know, you're assuming.
Yeah. And look, let's step away from the biological. If a race that came before, where would you survive the cataclysm, mate? If you were a race that existed here for a very long time, and you figured out that every now and again a volcano lets go, or, you know, typhoon level stuff, you know, rocks come out of the sky. If you've been here for a while, you probably would have figured out a while ago that it's probably best to hide underground or under the ocean.
Yeah. Well, and to me, if you're able to inhabit under the ocean, I haven't been down there a hell of a lot, but I believe that it would buffer.
Oh, buffer everything.
These things a lot better. You know, you get an impact with a comet. The water will absorb a lot of that impact.
Absolutely.
It'll take off the speed before it hits the crust,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Well, one of the common in the movies, bullets don't slice through water.
No,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Bullets have slowed down dramatically in water.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 50 caliber bullet point blank will stop in 10 feet or something like that.
Yeah. Let's say that's what it is. So yeah, and this goes back to why like anti-gravity technology would be good for under the ocean, because now you're not fighting that medium, that resistance.
It doesn't matter.
You're slicing through it.
Yeah.
You're moving it sort of. Oh, sorry. You're not pushing it out of the way with the hull of a boat. You're making it. You're falling into it, sort of thing. Yeah. So that would, you know.
And what kind of minerals are hiding at the bottom of the ocean?
Well, whatever you've got, whatever is available.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe 115 isn't from.
Maybe 115's more stable under that environment, because, you know, we've got a couple of different isotopes.
And the pressure. Don't forget about the pressure of the water under the.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps to stabilize it. Maybe that does something. So that's a good question. Yeah.
Look, the reality of the echoes through time, because the thought I went to while we're talking then is, what about the sea people, man? Sea people, that's another story that has existed since we started sailing the ocean, which, you know, we're beginning to understand was many, many, many thousands of years than what is taught in our schools today.
That's it. Well, with every day, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we start to believe that maybe we were seafaring before we thought we were.
Yeah, long way, long time.
Yeah.
What freaks me out about this, right? So let's go back to ultra versus extra. So let's go full believer now, right? We're full believer. These craft exist, the Tic Tacs, the triangles, all these things, they exist. If they at any point turned aggressive, we're done.
Oh, definitely.
However, if they're ultra terrestrials, that means we cohabitate on our little blue ball hurtling through space with a race that is so vastly in front of us as far as technology goes.
But we don't even know they're there.
We don't even know. Well, we do. There's the million stories about them, and, you know, like everything we've discussed tonight. However,
but what is them? You know, we see these. What is them, and are they only one? Are we only
back to the melting pot?
Well, are we cohabitating with only one advanced species, or are we cohabitating with multiple advanced species? These reports we hear.
Are we a hybrid of an advanced species that crashed into the planet 780,000 years ago?
And there was already a species.
And there was already a species here.
And we've been cohabitating ever since. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Are we cohabitating with the species that crashed? Have they gone underground? Are they out of sight? Because the type of craft and the phenomena we see vary so widely, from the pyramid-like shapes or cubes with balls inside them, or Tic Tacs, or saucers, or large cylindrical motherships with droney sort of things coming off them. They vary so much. Why would you think that it's only one?
Exactly.
Why would you think it's only one civilization? And maybe if we do have anything in terms of like a craft, maybe if we've captured anything or wreckage or whatever, what if that's like a vintage car? And
well, do you think
the aliens, the ultras, the extras, whoever they are, thought, and whichever species this was, thought, these will never can understand our tech. Give them the oldest thing we got.
Yeah.
That way, then they don't have to make that as large a leap.
Yeah.
You know, we've come so far since we were doing it like that.
You're saying the crashed alien was granddad out on a Sunday drive and he zigged when he should have zagged in his Model T. And
Oh, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe the craft belonged to a civilization that wasn't up to where some civilizations are. Hence, their tech failed. Their tech, like, you know, they were just. I think of you know how we talk of the craft usually having like small 3-foot like beings, sort of thing. I think of the little dudes out of Men in Black. Yeah, you know, the little worm sort of guys. I think of those guys. Imagine those guys flying a little saucer. Yeah, they're gonna out of control, crash it like they were doing lair rising.
Because the problem is with this, all things are possible.
Or we also got given it in terms of like, it's like, no, it's just, that's old and antiquated. So we don't even care. Here, put that somewhere where they can find it.
Right, but we live in the West, right? So if America's got them, let's pretend that Bob is right, okay?
Yes, yep.
And
America has 9 craft.
America has 9 craft. Russia's got some. For sure Russia's got some.
For sure.
There's photos of the Nazi UFO they were trying to make into the 40s.
Yeah, the video thing. I think there's video of them trying to make multiple source of things fly, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like of different jet propulsion and the like.
Yeah, weird looking things.
Then there was, what was that Bell device? Do you remember the Bell?
Oh, yeah, the Bell device, yes. Yeah.
But, yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff.
So let's say that if you would say the French might have something, if they've got a department dedicated to it.
You'd think. But, I mean, there's so much...
The British probably stole something.
The British definitely stole something throughout their colonialism. Fucking oath, they stole everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's how they got their wealth.
Saw this meme, and there was this dude standing in this massive room, and the meme was, if the British Museum gives back everything that isn't theirs.
Yes, exactly.
Right. However, is it just so compartmentalized that there's no coordination and cohesion between these states?
Yeah, 100%.
So chaotic and compartmentalized in their own ecosystems that
they're their own worst enemy in terms of things they're too efficient in shutting things down. Nothing gets spread. It dies a natural death within its compartment and never infects the other cells around it. Yeah, man, definitely. You know, that it all harks back to the idea that Blue Book was too successful.
Yeah.
It took this long for the right person to say something to the right person, and the slow rumblings of question to echo through to where it's got to now.
I had a bit of a thought. It's like maybe the crash in 47 was us trying to learn how to fly it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Maybe we found it in Germany somewhere and they brought it back to the US and old mate got off the ground and
Yeah. Well, if you got a, let's just think about some styles of control that we've seen, the sci-fi or
holding
not.
onto the balls or
or putting your hands in the thing and like you control it with your mind. If you're not practiced or skilled at any one activity, you're going to make a mistake at some point. So even if you're good enough to get it off the ground, if you've got to control it with your mind and then you start thinking about Sheila's titties on Friday night, then it spirals out of control because you didn't have the strength of mind to stay focused on the task.
Yeah.
What's to say, but then where did that craft come from?
Yeah, that's
Did the Germans create it? Or did the Germans back engineer it from
well, isn't that one side of the story is that the Germans got bases on the moon and they were...
And they're in communique.
Yeah.
There was a alien race
really
that actually helped them.
Yeah.
And that's why they were so technologically advanced in this engineering that they were doing.
Look, it's a bit
they
of
were handed a lot of stuff.
It's a bit of an aside. However, Hitler was a bit antsy. But if he had waited, if the Germans had 2 or 3 more years to develop their tech, we'd be it would have went completely differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and now, was that just that German engineering that we know and love so much in our cars today? Was it just that ultra perfection that they as a people valued overall? Or did they get... I was trying to think before when I said it. Do you remember the lady's name that was the... like a channeler, and she was apparently channeling an alien race, and they were giving her this info, and she was feeding it off. Von Braun or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Ava von Braun, possibly?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's a character from Inglourious Bastards. I'm not sure.
Either way,
we know. Yeah, the German lady who was channeling. You're yelling at your radio right now. You're like, yeah, everyone knows it's this chick. Yeah, I'm sorry, all right? But anyway, story goes on. Did it come from her? Was it engineering? Who knows?
Do you think we have something? Like as a global...
Do I think the human race possesses something of an ancient artifact that, like a UFO that can fly using a method of propulsion that we don't currently understand?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Like, I guess if you're going to talk about any of this, you kind of got to give it some merit. And it's the whole topic of this conversation. Is it extra or ultra? Does this... You know, we speak about it like they may still exist. What if
they've always existed?
But what if they don't exist anymore? What if what we're seeing
are pre-programmed drones or something?
Yeah. And they're just popping up doing their stuff that they were programmed to do, but the civilization that created them, actually, that was another... I think that was another thing, a topic that came up in the JRE episode, was... What if they're drones that are imprinted to survey life on Earth? And what if, when the time comes, they're able... So it's like AI that is then able to biologically recreate itself. And so we talk about this tech of transferring your consciousness to a computer. What if they did that? What if they've... able to transfer consciousness into an AI computer-style device.
Which is what we're currently trying to do.
And then when the time comes, you can recreate your civilization.
Sort of a bit like WALL-E, like the white robot off WALL-E.
Yeah.
Looking for a plant.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So, yeah, when it sees that plant, it's like, all right, it's time to come back now. Yeah. So... Is it that? You know, that gives us two different options in terms of they can either be off planet looking somewhere else, or they could be not even here and just the stuff that they've left, the tech that they've left, can simply recreate bodies and then implant a consciousness into it. And away they go.
Look,
who knows?
You have to consider all possibilities. I think, to me, the ultra-terrestrial thing, only because it does feed into a lot of this ancient culture that we're trying to identify or chase or prove or, you know, fill in the blank. The echoes through time of this, the underground cities, the water people, all that stuff.
Anki had a fish suit or something.
Yeah. It looks like he's got a scuba suit on.
Yeah.
Like, it just looks like a scuba suit.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary if they're ultra-terrestrials.
Well, it's scary and it's not at the same time.
Because they haven't done anything yet, have they?
Well, unless what they do...
Look, it'd be a hell of a show to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a hell of a show to watch the world.
Yeah.
Because it is. If you can get to an observant state here as a human, it's hilarious.
Well, look at what we've done.
Yeah.
Reality TV is so popular. We simply don't... We worked out sometime in the 90s that we're funny enough creatures to watch as it is. You don't need to script this shit.
Yeah, just put them in a box and let them go.
Let them go. It's just funny to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
And look, I for some reason, obviously with the world stage at the moment, went back and listened to Dan Carlin's Destroyer of Worlds, where he talks about nuclear weapons and stuff.
Yep.
And, you know, the uptick in technology to be able to see them and all that sort of stuff does coincide. And we are still monkeys with thermonuclear weapons.
Mm.
And it is actually a miracle that no one's let one off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe they're waiting for that. Look, all I'm saying is if they are ultra-terrestrials or extraterrestrials and they pick up on this bandwidth, anytime you're ready.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let's
You obviously haven't attacked.
Yeah.
If you're there.
Yeah.
So if you've got some advice,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Anytime you're ready, man, just step in, you know. It's like the
Yeah, because it feels like the direction we're going right now. There's a lot of talk throughout, like, the world.
multiple levels of society.
Where it's like, that's if we even make it another 1,000 years.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? It's like, yeah, we all know that we're on a pretty destructive path.
Yeah. Look, the
Problem is, how do we... I don't think anyone wants to address it because it's, how do you change everything? You know what I mean?
And I think is the truth too shocking? Because if we are to be true believers, you know, with obviously a skeptical eye, however, the ones that we pretty sure are accurate, the truth of that and the fact that everything is bullshit, basically, you know, that's what we said the other day. It's, you know, it's bullshit all the way down. Like, it's beds of sand and paperwork and lies and deception.
Across all genres.
Everything.
It's not one thing, it's everything.
That's
Everything's right. And that's just part of the human condition.
Yeah.
So how do we get past that?
How can we get past that?
Yeah.
You know. Well, mate, I don't have too much more. That was a very wide-ranging and varied conversation. I don't think we've solved anything, but it was good. It's a good conversation.
Is that ever truly the goal, though?
Not really, no.
I mean, it's pretty hard for two sophomaniacs to solve anything.
Oh, the old sophomaniac, I love that. Yeah. Those that have the delusion that they're intelligent.
I think that's all we can do is just continue to further the conversation and think about possibilities.
Yeah.
And bring, I think the most important thing is bring new possibilities to light.
And always be open to all perspectives. I think that's the reality with this stuff. You know, we part of the coder's oath is to not tie ourselves to any idea.
Yeah. Yeah, no one narrative.
No.
Because then you're only that's the issue.
Yeah.
That we're talking about.
Yeah, everyone needs to take a
tie
turn.
ourselves to narratives and then we defend those narratives. And that narrative may start off with pure intent and it may skew at some point. You know what I'm saying?
So we need to be open to all perspectives and narratives. And as I said, you know, if ultra or extra, anytime you're ready, got some advice.
Yeah. You don't even need some advice. You just want to be like, hey guys, we exist on this planet with you.
Yeah.
Have done for quite a while.
Yeah.
Our tech's way more advanced than yours. So we just cloak ourselves so you don't really know we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, anytime you want to just do that, just, yeah. You know,
And thermonuclear war is not a good idea.
Yeah. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
We did that once.
Yeah.
That's why we lived underground.
Yeah, exactly. We did that before. It's not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Have you looked at Mars? One side of it is less than the other. That's how big the bomb was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blew the atmosphere away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we need to terraform this back.
Yeah.
You know, it took 65 million years last time we did it.
That's right.
Yeah. Killed all the other fucking species that was here.
That's right.
That was an accident. Sorry.
Yeah.
Man, you can go anywhere.
That's
You
right.
could go anywhere with any of this because at the moment the dots are just few and far between. But what excites me about this is present and future, whereas the megalithic stuff is past. The past, you can only go off the facts that are there. You can find new ones that they always existed. You just couldn't see them with your eye. This genre lends itself to exploration, creation, actually discovering possible truths, and not only that, it also encompasses the new thought paradigm in the realms of openness, honesty, this information is going to come to light in this new age. The new age where everyone realizes that all of things are bullshit, and our access to information is so much to the source. You know, you haven't got all those hands, all those levels of bureaucracy in the way anymore, because the internet has just clarified all of that. A lot of bullshit gets through, but a lot of good shit gets through. And we as a society just need to learn to filter it.
And look, I think...
Doesn't that excite you?
It does excite me.
know?
The conversation is being had on many levels too, right? I think trying to understand our past, trying to understand our present, and looking at these topics. More and more people are having conversation due to, I think, the integrity and authenticity of the new footage and stuff. I'd be interested to see what the report says at the end of June.
Yeah.
That's where the report's due. Interested to see what Jacques Vallée's book said and why Amazon took that down. Is it something or is it nothing? I mean, he's in his 80s, so it'd be his last book. He's on the downhill stroke.
He's putting out his best stuff. He's putting out everything he's got that he thinks he can make a case with.
Yeah, so...
And there's never been a better time for it either. That's
true. That's true.
Now, if anyone's holding on to anything, now's the time for it to come out. Before that generation dies out. They're the World War II diggers, and the adults of the 40s and 50s were the start of it. So before they're all truly gone, it's time to pass that knowledge on. And the next generations behind them are ready to hear it too.
And look, I think, and I suppose it's me being me, however, if it was one thing that could bring us together with the openness and communication information, maybe we need to, what if it's just as simple as that if we actually collectively acknowledge these beings, whatever, we didn't go down the interdimensional path either, which is, it's too late for that now. However,
why is it too late? Go on. Give me a bit.
Well, I mean, you go to...
Just touch on it.
We talked about stargates, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing that, there's these interesting doors into walls that, the ancients say, the people there, it's like, if you've got the right thing, you can just walk through the wall.
Yeah.
I was told that story by an Indigenous fellow when I was 16.
Yeah.
That's what he told me. He goes, you walk into a rock in Jabiru, you come out in the Grampians.
Yeah. So... I actually had a little thought on this. Why does it make them interdimensional? It may not. It may just be a level of tech, like the transporter on Star Trek.
Yeah.
If you can...
True.
It could be something along those lines. Then it's not interdimensional. They're still in this dimension, but they can just teleport from place to place.
I mean, but you're starting to get into time now. I mean, time is just a three-dimensional creation.
Well, it's all... Yeah, but it's... How do you measure things like space-time? It's a greater thing than my intellect allows.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. I don't know if there's a section of time. I understand what you're saying. There's a section of time that is a human creation in terms of how we measure it.
Yes.
But I don't think that means it doesn't exist.
Yeah. And that's the interesting question.
Yeah.
But if you're manipulating gravity and space around you, what is time?
It's the measure of distance.
But if you don't, because we measure time because of our spin of our gravity of our Earth, right? So if that makes no difference to you, or you have transporter tech where it makes no difference to you.
Yeah.
If
distance, it does. And does that come into where? Is that where the age regression and stuff that we were talking about before? Does time travel exist, but not in the idea in which we think it does?
Oh, look, I'm a firm believer that you can manipulate time.
Yeah. Well, it's been shown there's ways to manipulate. Like time is relative, and time occurs in different spaces. So if you were to travel away from the Earth at a fucking speed of light, then travel back, you would not have aged, but the Earth would have gone through 1 million years of evolution.
But I'm even talking like that. That is, you're talking interstellar there, and that's a very interesting discussion as well. However, I'm talking to like basic. If you think about this room, man. You know, how much time have we spent in this room at time? And then you when we take these headphones off, finally, we're going to look at whatever time it is. I don't know what time it is, and go, whoa, you know, like time flies when you're having fun. You're having a slow day at work. How long does it take?
Yep.
It's the same amount of time.
Yeah, it's purely your perception of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So you can manipulate that. You know.
I don't know if you're manipulating the time as much as you're manipulating your awareness of it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? It's like time flies. Your time feels like it flies because you're engaged in activity where your pure focus is put on it. You know, I don't mean to be a buzzkill, but that to me is just how those sort of things work.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're a good example of us manipulating time in terms of more so just us just not paying attention to it. Yeah.
Well, I used to one of my exes used to drive her crazy because she'd go, when are you going to pick me up? And I'd say, I'll pick you up when you're ready.
Yep. And
didn't matter. I would pull up out the front of her house as she was walking down the stairs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I picked her up the same time every day, any of that sort of stuff. But I did that for a year.
Yeah.
But what's that? Is that instinct, or is that what's that? You know, like
or is that a connection to her?
Could be
in terms of like her thought process of, okay,
this is how long she takes to get ready.
Well, not about even time, just where her brain goes once she's ready. So I've done the getting ready process. Then at that point, you've got that feeling of she's ready, and then you're arriving. That excluding the idea of time, there could go into
mental connection. What's the
telepathy?
Yeah,
more than even time. If you want to get crazy with the thought process of where do we actually go, it could be multiple different things as to why that occurrence happens. It could be related to time though.
It could be related to time. You know, I mean, and then I don't know what I just went to, and we talk about interdimensional, all these different times. Yeah. What about light? You know, like we see less than 1% of what's going on
of the spectrum
of what's going on around
electromagnetic
us.
spectrum around us. Yeah,
we see less than 1%. So what is actually happening?
Yeah,
we don't actually know.
No, that's right. And you know, light as a particle, what can that actually do to the human body in terms of, or the human senses? You know, like you say, we only see 1% of the light spectrum. So what do we not see? And you know, that goes back to some.
Is that instinct? You feel bad energy, that sort of stuff like that? Is that
something that you're not seeing?
Room? Yeah, it's a different vibration.
Is there something there you can't see? And there's reports of that in the UFO world in terms of things that can be seen but can't be picked up on radar, or things that can be picked up on radar and can't be seen.
Yeah.
You can't see it there. Or like that guy, like the guys with the thing crawling out of the tunnel. One guy had a camera, one guy had a scope, and the scope picked it up, the camera couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Because of the part of the light spectrum that it was using. I believe the scope had infrared, whereas the camera didn't.
And the camera would be working off mirrors where the scope's just a...
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a lens.
Yeah. What parts of the spectrum are some of those devices picking up on that the others aren't, as to why they can see them. And you still got to see that thing with the human eye afterwards. So that still leaves a massive, vast spectrum of stuff that we can't see, that we don't know. So yeah, man, what is truly out there? We do not know. We may never know.
No.
It would be nice, like you say, extras or ultras, just to even have a sit down and a conversation. You know, come on to JRE.
Yeah.
Tell the world the truth that we are Ewoks and there's a whole galactic empire, that we're an outer rim planet. You know, Coruscant is 62 million light years that way.
Yeah.
that's the center. That's the capital of the galaxy.
Yeah.
This thing's been going for millions of years. You know, once upon a time we had this thing called the Old Republic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And this is how just someone to sit down.
You
and be
guys
like,
are remnants of the Old Republic, and we forgot about you, and then we found.
yeah,
you.
you're an outer rim planet. You're a mining outpost.
Yeah, that's right.
That's you know, and
Gold's useful.
dude. The funny part is if that part was true, I would believe it in a second if they sat down, because it's like, well, we have stories about that, you know, about the Nephilim,
Yeah.
or and the Anunnaki
Yeah.
using us to mine gold. It's like, of course, we were an outer rim planet in Star Wars.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a mining outpost. It makes that's our history.
Yeah.
We've known it this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I did actually think that. I think Joe knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
He's got some sort of strategy. I know he says he doesn't plan anything. However, he's got with this UAP stuff. He has got some sort of strategy. He's making moves.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And it did dawn on me. I had that same thought. It's like, if the aliens were going to reveal themselves, it would make sense that they went on the JRE.
It's the biggest podcast in the world,
Exactly.
man. How can you get your information out?
500 million
The
to
most.
a billion people are probably, you know,
Yeah,
like
and word of mouth.
Joe surpassed over 1 billion downloads 2 to 3 years ago. Who knows what?
And there's such a large population there that if each one of those people told one person,
The whole world knows about
that
it.
everyone knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's instant transmission. It's the closest thing to instant transmission as you would ever get.
So Joe will probably be our representative.
No doubt, man.
And look, I'm not entirely unhappy with that.
Nah, look, he's done a good job over the years, man. He's done a good job.
Well, mate, I think that's it. Have you got anything else?
I got nothing for you, man.
Another good one.
That was a great conversation, brother. It was good to have. Just lay it all out on the table, see where it went.
See where it went.
And hopefully everyone, you know, has a couple more perspectives on their mirror ball now, dude.
Yeah, and that's the aim at the end of the day, isn't it?
That's all you can do.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. We'll talk soon.
Enjoy it.
Cheers.
See you guys. Bye.
1, 2.